Welcome back to the Avengers. In this video we are going through the best way to get the best gear and how to farm legendaries. I've seen a lot of videos on this topic now and none of them explain what's actually the best way to get legendary gear. People will always tell you just to go for the highest difficulty, do the hardest content, but it doesn't work like that in this game. I've done a test playing an elite hive, which is I'd say it's around the toughest in the game. There is an elite heroic hive, but you have to progress through mission chains in order to unlock that. But at the moment, elite hives, it seems to be the most replayable content, and you get the best gear from it. There's a lot of elite units, so you're getting a lot of XP as well. It just seems to be the best replayable content. You basically go into this hive, on the elite version, you're taking down 6 different floors of enemies. People will tell you to just bump it up to challenge 4, but I wouldn't recommend doing that because I did a test, challenge 1 and challenge 4. Challenge 4 took about 10-15 minutes longer than challenge 1, but challenge 1 actually dropped much better gear. Everything I got on challenge 4 I dismantled because I couldn't use any of it for my build. I'm going for a very specific Hulk build that doesn't have any survivability at all. He's just spec'd into damage. When I first started playing the game, I thought building up your ratings is going to be the best thing. Then as I started researching the builds more, I figured out it's not just your ratings, it's the stats that come on gear. So when you hover over a certain gear piece, it will tell you whether it's got like might, resolve, precision, or proficiency, valor, might, or something like that. So I was getting the 3 pieces, I was speccing into might, valor, and proficiency because that's all stats. If you hover over your ratings, you will see that that's all stats for the melee rating. So my crit chance was high, my crit damage was high, and my melee damage base was high as well. The elite hives are the best thing to play, but do not put them onto challenge 4. The loot doesn't vary that much. There's not enough of an increase. Like, the increase isn't significant enough to validate playing on challenge 4 and spending all of that extra time doing those hives. What I've also figured is I've cut Valor out of my build. I'm just going for might and proficiency because even though my crit damage won't be as high because I've taken the Valor out of the build, I will still get like a minimum of 100%. At the moment it's around 200% crit damage, but I'm still getting things to finalize my builds to complete it. So even if you have 100% crit damage, that's not going to matter because it's still going to double your base melee damage. So if you hit for 4k, you're going to hit for 8 with a crit. The thing I'm focusing on is crit chance, so that I'm hitting those crits more often, and just my base melee damage to make the hits stronger without any buffs and stuff applied. So what you'll notice if you look at your gear, whether it's blue, purple or legendary, some of it is going to drop blue and be better than legendaries, because that's where the RNG comes into it. You're going to get different stats, they're going to have different percentages and stuff. You're going to have to grind a little bit to get the pieces of gear you want. I've currently got 1 out of the 4. So if you look at your gear, you hover over it. If you've got might, proficiency and valor, or any 3 stats on that piece of gear, you will notice their ratings are around, I'm going to say 35 to 45 for each of them. Some of them can actually be in the 20s if you've got a blue piece of gear. Typically, legendary is going to give you higher stats, but it's also going to be harder to obtain. As well as that, you also need to pay attention to the gear perks because one of them might give you gamma damage, but you want particle damage or something like that. So you need to figure it all out for yourself. But what I've noticed is I've removed Valor because when you have 3 stats, they range between 35 and 45. When you only get 2 stats to drop on a piece of gear, the numbers are always higher. So my legendary synapses have might and proficiency, and instead of being around 30, we'll say 40 as an average number. Instead of being around 40, the legendary dropped at 130 power level, and it had like 52 might and 53 proficiency. So my crit chance is going to be higher, and my melee damage is going to be higher, so my melee rating is going to go up. Even if you're not seeing percentage increases, it will still go up. So what I've done with my 130 legendary is powered it all the way up to 140 because I'm going to keep that piece of gear. So I've now got to go and find the other 3. But I believe the might is now sitting at 57. The proficiency is now 58. That's a lot of power coming from just that one piece of gear. So if you can get lucky enough to have them drop and you can power them up to 60, times that by 4 if you've got the perfect pieces, that's 240 might, 240 proficiency. Everything else is going to suck, but those 2 stats are going to be incredible. So you can obviously go for melee, you can go for ranged, you can go for heroic ability, recharge rates, you can go for armor, you can go for health. There's a lot of different ways you can spec into a build. It doesn't have to just all be damage, but that's how I like to play. If you're using Miss Marvel, you might want to go for the support heroic recharge rate, so that your number 1 ability is coming back and you can heal everyone, but at the same time you might want to boost her health, so she's not going to be as strong, but she's going to be an absolute tank and she can heal everyone. There's a lot of different ways you can play the game, but I've been focusing on gear that has 2 stats so that I can push them to their maximum possible. But then there's also things like your minor artifacts and your major artifact. Your major will give you extra power, just base power on your character, so that you can push to 150, but your minor artifacts will also come with stats, and there is a red ISO 8 that if you get it purple, because I don't think they actually have minor artifacts that are legendary in the game, but if you get a purple rarity, red ISO 8, it can actually drop with 3 might stats. There are other colours that will drop with 3, I think I've got, is it resilience and precision, I think I've got. But you will get those based on the content you're playing. Not only that, your minor artifacts, if you don't want to use one that gives you a load of might, you might be looking for gear. There are also minor artifacts that will, if you're playing challenge 2 or above, they give you a higher percentage of getting an extra gear item reward. There are also some that will boost your faction XP from all sources. There are several different things you can do to help benefit. You can even, I think you can get a minor artifact that boosts your chances of getting other artifacts out of strong boxes and stuff. So before you even think of going for gear, make sure you know what you want from your build, and then focus on the Elite Hive. Do it on Challenge 1 or any difficulty you feel comfortable with, but you don't need to go any higher than Challenge 1. You can do the Elite Hives, Villain Sectors, the Vaults are quite good for gear as well. There are several ways to get gear and get good gear, but it's not all just based on your challenge rating and jumping into the hardest content. It's about knowing what to do, knowing what you're going for. There's a lot of different factors. So that is going to be the end of the video. Let me know your thoughts and stuff in the comments, as well as if you have any other tips to get gear fast and to get legendary drops, because they are just random, the legendary drops, but by doing Elite Hives, and especially if you're on Challenge 1, is going to make everything faster, your drops will be coming in at a faster rate. So any other tips, leave them in the comments. I will see you in the next Avengers video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope it helped you out. Thank you for watching.